Welcome to a Healthy Point of View podcast. I'm your host, Sam Tejada, and today we have our special guest. This guy here has a wonderful story. He has a life changing story. He's been in the industry longer than what I have, which is a long time. We have Joseph Fermin. Joseph Fermin is with AAI Clinics, specializing in rejuvenation. Joseph, how are you?
How you doing, Sam? Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. This is fantastic, man. I was, you and I have been going back and forth, communicating for years, and then recently we connected,
Connected
and we
again.
were talking. It was like, you know what? Let's do some content together. Let's talk about our stories. Let's talk about everything that's happening in the industry. So, for all the viewers, we got a lot of doctors, a lot of consumers that listen to the podcast. Let's talk a little bit about how you got into the industry and who Joseph is.
Well, basically, I started doing marketing and advertising for clinics down here in South Florida, uh, back in the late 2010, around there.
Okay.
The first clinic that I ever worked for was Total Health and Rejuvenation Center in Boca. The owner was Don Montano, one of the millionaires in Boca right there. Uh, I really jumped into the business not really knowing anything, just know how to build websites. From that day on, I went into different adventures.
Joseph, so obviously you got into the industry. You got a strong background in business and operations. And for those of you guys who don't know, Joseph is Dominican, uno de lo mío, right? And us Dominicans, we always got the hustle in us, right? So one of the things with AAI Clinics that I noticed for years is that you guys were always fantastic at SEO. I would see it. I'm like, man, I'm a marketer. I'm Dominican. I'm a hustler, but I can't figure this out. You cracked the code early on.
It was a thing that I figured out early on that time.
What were you doing? Like, how did you kind of figure that out? Because everything
You
changes so much.
you'll be surprised, brother. I first started learning about computers when I first started learning about music.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you a little story that I haven't told
But
nobody.
that's like what, coding on
Uh,
computers or
no, making music.
making music? Okay.
That's what got me into the computer, into the marketing and advertising.
All right.
At the age of 14, my stepdad used to manage Loquenton over there in the Dominican Republic. So I used to travel with them. I used to set up the
Oh,
equipment and
wow.
so forth.
Okay.
That's how I started learning about electronics and computers and so forth. Arriving here in South Florida, I created my own company named HFR Entertainment in the music business.
What year was that?
That was in 96
96.
that
Okay.
I arrived here. So in that time, South Florida was a really racist place.
It was different.
It was different.
Good old boy system.
Police was tough.
Yeah, I've heard stories about that, especially when I worked at the fire department.
I can tell you
Yeah.
that for a fact. I thought Fort Lauderdale was another state.
Yeah.
you know,
You would try to drive around for
it was different.
right.
So the lifestyle from Dominican Republic coming here was totally different. So I had to get used to that lifestyle. So the only thing that I know how to do was music. So that's what I put my whole entire energy into music.
Okay.
That's when I discovered my cousin Edo that was working to the hormone business. So he started working for Total Health and Rejuvenation Center.
That was in 96 though?
No, that was a few years later.
That was a fast
after.
forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, because 96, I don't even know if I had a computer back then yet.
It was actually Fruit Loop that we used to do. It was little squares doing music back in the
Okay.
days. Pro Tool wasn't even invented.
That's crazy.
You know,
Wow.
it was that or live music to record. That
Right,
was the
right.
only two ways to make music back in the days. So that part of the business wasn't really doing too much. Studio time, people wasn't paying. I had a, follow people around, call them, hey, you
Right,
owe
right.
me money. And I wanted to get out of the business. I didn't want to do nothing in the business, you know. I even did a movie, a Puerto Rican movie down here in South Florida in those times too. Generate a little bit of money, but I really wanted to get out of that business. It wasn't really for me. My time was all committed into it.
You didn't feel as passionate about it
Yeah,
either, huh?
you know.
Yeah. So how
So
you get into computers?
Total Health Rejuvenation Center give me an opportunity to build website.
Oh wow.
So I told them I can build a website for you. So what I did is I went and learned how to build a website.
Okay. So what I know there's like different type of web like WordPress and like how what
Back
kind of
then wasn't no WordPress.
what was it,
It was
HTML?
HTML.
Oh wow.
There was softwares around in that time that you can, put a,
I remember
templates
back
and-
then. I remember MySpace. You'd have to get the HTML
the
code
HTML
and then
code.
copy it.
So
That's crazy.
It was different back then, but it was easier.
Right, right.
The hard part that people didn't understand was how to rank those websites.
Okay, that's the code. That's the code I want to hear how you cracked, because that's most people they don't figure it out. Most people who get into the business to begin with, they're either good medical practitioners, they're good, on the operation side, but the marketing side, it's a unique individual to figure that out.
If you don't know anything about marketing, your company is not gonna survive. And
I agree.
90% of the company here is, in the U.S. don't survive because they don't have the right structure.
Yep, yep.
Doesn't matter how much money you throw at a company, you're just wasting money.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And you know what? One of the things that is resonating, I always tell people, if I went back like 5 years ago, I would tell people we're a marketing PR company first, medical second.
Yes.
Today, I actually tell people we're software technology first,
Correct.
marketing PR second, and then medical third. And it doesn't diminish what we do efficacy-wise on a medical standpoint, is that without the first two, you don't have a business. So thinking about how you got in on the technology side, right? Software technology, boom.
Yeah.
And then it feeds into the marketing. Hence, that's why you've been so successful.
And especially with all the technology coming nowadays, I mean, with the knowledge that I got, people go to school for 10 years.
Right.
I mean, I know how to code. People had to go to get a master to know how to code.
Figure that out.
And this is all learned on my own. Dedication is the key of everything.
So if you had to pick one thing as you started building, in the rejuvenation business that fed into optimizing best for SEO, what is the top number one thing that you would say?
I would suggest content, the right content.
What kind of content? Video content or written content?
3 different type of content.
Shoot it.
Written content,
Okay.
video content, and picture content.
And picture content.
Picture content.
Okay, you got me on that one. So picture content, are you saying that do you do stuff like in the back end with like the metadata of it?
Have you gone to Google Image?
Mm-hmm.
So when you type something in Google Image, what comes up? Those websites,
Right.
those pictures, those are.
Yeah.
Nobody understands that.
That's important. That's important.
That's everywhere.
And people don't like to read, so pictures to probably click on that first.
People are more visual or like to listen. I'm more visual. I watch YouTube all day and learn.
Right. Right.
People think that their learning is just going to school.
Learning never stops. That's what I tell
It
people.
never stops.
Yeah.
And we are in the United States where most of the millionaires come from another country.
That's
and
true.
You got
yeah.
the biggest opportunity here to learn, and it's a struggle.
So what would you say to like doctors that are out there that are trying to figure out marketing, right? They got their clinics, a lot of these new doctors that left the ER. Like what's like the first step that they should do when it comes to marketing?
Doctors don't have the time. I want to tell you.
I knew you were going there.
They don't have the
Right.
time. You need to surround yourself with a team that you trust. Somebody that you can depend on without having any issues. A business is a team. It's just not just one doctor running the clinic. If you don't have the ducks in order, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Especially in the marketing and advertising side. Even a doctor has to have a database to run their clients.
Yeah.
my wife runs home medical billing company. You gotta have a medical billing company to run the billing to run,
Yeah.
so everything you have to trust somebody around the line or get something statue around you all the time that you can trust, so where you can elevate yourself to that
It's
level.
like you need the doctor for marketing, right? You know, it's like someone who can actually understand how that whole ecosystem works. The same way how a doctor understands how somebody's body works, you need that expert. And I always say it's like every great athlete has a coach,
Oh yeah,
right? So these doctors, they have to understand that don't be your own coach when it comes to marketing. Hire the right person.
yeah.
And my father would always tell me, hire someone who's smarter than you.
Oh yeah,
You know?
definitely. I surround myself with people that are smarter than me, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
My team that I got around me are smarter than me. Yeah, I can give advice. I can tell them, listen, I think this is, we have this debate. I think this is the right way to go. But at the end of the day, if I think they're right, I'll let them take charge. You
Right.
know, that's what a leader does. That's why I've been successful in helping opening up all these clinics. I just finally got the opportunity to have something that I'm involved with AAI Clinics, that appreciate my value, as a person and as a human being.
Of course. So with the clinics, you started in the clinic space in what year? 2000,
Uh, was in about 2010 around there.
2010. So that's like early on.
Yeah.
So you've seen a tremendous shift
Oh yeah.
in this industry. You've seen a lot of good, but you've also seen a lot of bad.
Yes.
Because you know how it is with anything that can produce dollars, which obviously this business can. You're going to get people who just want the cash cow and,
Oh yeah.
you know. Tell us a little bit about your war stories of what you've seen since 2010. And listen, you don't have to keep it PG. So,
And all these years that I've been working with different clinics and I have seen different clinics, what I have seen is that most of these different clinics are not, they're there for the money. They're not there to do the right thing for the patient. I mean, if somebody, if a clinic goes ahead and doesn't prescribe the right therapy because they're just thinking that everybody is the same, or they prescribe the same therapy for everybody, like everybody's not different. Those are clinics that that I will avoid, you know. And South Florida has a lot of problem with some of those clinics popping up out here.
right.
They don't like to do the right thing.
So let me ask you this. What is the right thing to do with the patients?
Well, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not gonna go ahead but I will, in my experience, a right therapy has to do with three different things: blood work, physical exam, the whole entire 9 yard. We need to go what they are affected by, or any food that their body doesn't process the correct way, or any vitamins that their body needs. It's a whole entire comprehensive analysis. It's not just one therapy
I
suits
agree.
all.
Yeah. And that's one of the things, we preach a lot at Liquivita is this is not a cookie cutter method. When it comes to your health, it has to be a personalized approach.
Correct.
Or what you're doing is more precision,
Correct.
right? You're looking at exactly what their lab values are, and we're treating specific to the deficiencies or getting them within the optimal range based off those lab values.
Correct.
How you said also is looking at basically lifestyle, doing that lifestyle assessment, seeing exactly what kind of stressors do they have in their life, right? How do they live their day to day life? Which I'm more than sure you guys have worked with a lot of firefighter, paramedics, police officers that come and try to get that edge, right? Because they're feeling fatigue or whatever.
Correct.
Obviously their job has certain things that get them exposed to toxins,
Oh,
get them
yeah.
exposed to a lot of stress, sleep deprivation,
Oh, yeah.
which, all of that stuff. I mean, listen, you look at firefighters. I talk to a lot of my friends that once I've retired, obviously, but I got a lot of friends that are still in the fire department, and I have guys that I worked with that are getting diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
It's like, man, these guys are still young. They're in their early 50s.
Yeah.
Some are in their
I
40s.
I have talked to a lot of my brother used to work for Enna. He used to be one of the account managers. They used to manage the city insurance for the police department, firefighters, and teachers here in Broward.
Okay.
So I I I've been with him into a lot of different scenarios. I met the chief of police. I met a bunch of different police officers. We have this conversation, you know, of the stress level that they go to. 12-hour shift. I know, you used to be a firefighter, so you know that they work 3.5 days on, 3.5 days off. I don't know if they changed that rule. But the stress level that every police officer, firefighter, and teachers, because they gotta be dealing with all these kids. Um, I really seen how their life is not working the way that they want to, just because they're not focusing on the right thing,
Right.
eating healthy, exercising, you know, even a little bit of yoga or meditating will work wonder. Um, I was talking with my IT guy. He says, "Man, I got off TRT therapy a few months ago, but I've been eating lean. I've been eating healthy. I've been sleeping 8 hours. No stress, and he feels great. So it's a combination
It's a
between.
combination.
Yeah, it's a
It has a
combination between.
huge effect on your overall health, and that's one of the things. And I know people hear this all the time: mind, body, spirit.
Oh
Right?
yeah,
You got to make sure they're all right,
correct.
because when one is off balance, the other will fall off
Yeah,
balance as well too. And
yeah.
and that's the last thing you need, because then it's your body's like this big chemistry plant, right? It's one thing's off, one chemical balance is off, everything just
Yeah,
starts to fall apart.
everything goes off. Yeah,
So, obviously we're talking about firefighters, cops, and obviously me as a firefighter, I've seen a lot of the guys and girls that I've worked with get exposed to cancer. That leads me to talking about your journey, right? When you got involved in the rejuvenation side, obviously you had a strong focus on marketing, operations, all of that great stuff.
correct.
But one of the things that you brought up to me, which I thought it's something that's important for us to talk about, because we live in such a high pace world, right?
Yeah,
Everything's so high paced. It's nonstop. We don't stop, especially now that we got the phones, the email right at our fingertips. It's like I catch myself where I don't have enough time for myself. I'm too
yeah,
busy taking care of everyone else, putting them
yeah,
through all of our different services and modalities. I see people losing weight, feeling energetic, and I'm looking at myself, I'm not even doing it to myself,
yeah.
right? And eventually something is going to turn on that light bulb and say, you know what? I got to take care of myself.
Correct.
And I've been through that, not to the extent that you have with your journey of what happened with your health,
Yeah,
which we're going to talk about. But when those things happen, it makes me more passionate about what I do. It makes me want to learn more about the world of wellness, biohacking, and allows me to learn new things to bring into the company to bring to people who might benefit from it.
correct.
So I want to talk a little bit about your health journey of how you ended up getting diagnosed with cancer and how that had an effect on your passion for what you do in the health and wellness business.
That was a tough journey. I basically learned everything about the home run business through the IT side, the marketing side, building the website, and so forth. But I wasn't concentrating on the health side of it. My idea was work, 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 work. Until I had thyroid cancer. That was a downfall. I really didn't thought that would happen to me.
How old were you when you found out you had how long ago was that?
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah, that
Wow.
was 10 years ago. I left. I was just recently opening AAI Clinics. Recently getting separated. A lot of stress going on. Find out that I had thyroid cancer.
How did you find out? What did you feel?
It was funny, the story. I was so stressed out that I had needed to leave the city. So I have friends in North Carolina where I used to go over there and hunt,
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
wanted to get away. So I told my daughter, hey, listen, let's get away from the weekend. I need to de-stress. I don't feel good. Something is going on. I just want to relax. And the way driving over there in Jacksonville, I stopped and put in gas, and I just passed out
Oh wow.
right then the gas
That's the
station.
first time ever passing out like
Yeah,
that.
first time ever. And thank God that didn't happen when I was driving.
That's a brutal ride, by the way, getting out of Florida.
Yeah,
So you pass out, and then when you wake up, where you at?
I'm in the hospital.
Oh wow. Okay.
And they told me they kept me there for 24 hours. They told me I had a thyroid issue. They didn't tell me it was cancer. They told me I had a thyroid issue. So I didn't think about anything, or maybe it was the stress, maybe I needed to relax. And way back to Fort Lauderdale, I made a doctor appointment that discovered that I had a hypothyroidism, and it was cancerous. Went through radiation. The first radiation that they gave me was a pill.
When you got that diagnosis of cancer, and this is important for the listeners because, again, you just mentioned it. High stress. You're going through a divorce. You had all this stuff going on, which those high stress levels will trigger
Yeah,
disease to develop.
correct.
When you got that news of you having cancer, what was that feeling? How did that hit you?
Oh man, I thought I was gonna lose everything. My first thing is my kids don't have nobody to they're gonna depend on.
And this is without you even telling them about the news as of
Oh
yet.
yeah, nobody know. I was living by myself. I was going to the hospital by myself. Nobody knew that I had cancer.
Did you have a do you have a strong faith, like connection with God at that
I
point?
I don't go to church, but I do pray every day.
So you felt connected at that point when you got the diagnosis.
Actually, it made me more a believer.
Really?
Yeah, it really changed my whole entire state of mind. I was thinking differently. I was thinking more about man. I need to figure something out for the family in case something happens to me. I need to have backup for them.
So you're going almost into like fight mode. Like,
Yeah.
all right, it's go time. Like these are some people when they get the news, they kind of just give up.
Oh no.
And
No.
then mentally, you're going into fight mode. Typical
Yeah.
Dominican, right? Going into fight mode.
Well, you have to remember. My dad died when I was 5 years old.
Wow.
So I didn't have nobody there. I grew up by myself. I have family there, and most of my family are wealthy. They have money. I don't know if you have heard about the Fermin family over there, but I was the type of guy that I never depended on nobody. I always was that guy that I always was. I don't give it to me. I work for it.
Right, right.
So I never wanted nobody to give me anything. So I was always on by myself, always on my own. Never asked nobody. So I did it. Until nowadays, I still don't have nobody.
Right.
I'm the head of the family. I got 4 kids, 5 grandkids.
So when this is going through your head, you get diagnosed with cancer, and you're the head of the family, you're the provider, right? And now you got to think, I got to share the news. Was that harder on you than you just getting the news for yourself on how you're going to deliver that to your family?
I wasn't really scared about what I was going through. I was more scared about them.
How about them?
I grew up without a dad, so I didn't want them to be without a dad. So my focus was I need to be this, and I need to create something for the future. That if something happens to me, they will be taken care of.
And that's the right mindset. That's the mindset that we all have to, when we get hit with those type of problems, right? With certain situations that can be life altering, the first thing that we have to do is tap into the positive mindset,
Always.
right? Because that, I was at a biohacking conference this last weekend, and one of the biggest topics was the power of the mind, of how people can actually heal themselves just by having the right mindset. So hearing you say that is, one of the things that contribute for you to be here today, to be actually be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
So you get in the right mindset, you deliver the news to family, and then you start going through radiation. How was that process of radiation?
That was the worst, the worst,
Why?
the worst therapy I ever. I never been. I went to 120 pounds. I looked like I was almost dead bone.
Wow.
The first radiation didn't work, so they had to put me in another radiation. So I did two different type of radiations. Finally, the second radiation they shrunk it down, and the third, the last part was they were gonna remove my my thyroids. So, but thank God that the radiation shrink the cancer, and I'm on medication right now for the rest of my life, man.
Right. Right. So part of that, you know, one of the things that you mentioned when we talked earlier is this shift of your mindset when it came to the health and wellness, where now you're going more the holistic route and making sure that the clients that come into the rejuvenation clinics, it's not just about, hey, come in and get a 1 cc shot of testosterone. There's a
Correct.
lot more to make sure your health and wellness is
Oh
in
yeah.
check. So you going through this experience, this very strong experience of you having cancer and going through that process and beating it, and knowing that there's things in life that potentially contribute for that disease to develop. What is your message to not just the doctors that are listening that are working their butts off, but to every single listener? What is your message of lifestyle, of what they need to do, health and wellness wise, and why?
In my experience, what I've been through, I figure there needs to be a balance, and not only with family, but also with yourself. Primarily with yourself. You know, you need to take time to reflect. You need time for yourself. You need time to meditate. You need time to think things through. Um, because if you're not healthy, you're not gonna help nobody else in the process. You know, if you are in a negative situation, you're just gonna bring more negative situation to the. So I always try to be the most positive person around everybody. Always trying to look for solution. Um, there's a solution for everything. There shouldn't be no stress. And if there's financial stress, I mean, it's always gonna be there. It will never go away.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
you're
so
right.
you just have to deal with that and just keep moving forward. Tomorrow's another day. I mean, I have made millions, I have lost millions, but I'm still here,
Right.
you know. And the only thing that matters to me is my family, my kids, and my friends, and that support me,
Right.
you know.
Right.
Everything else is just waiting for you know God to say, hey, it's your time, you know. Besides that, it's just be honest, uh, be respectful. You know, we live in Miami, brother. There's so much to respect here, so much negativity. It's hard to live here and be in a positive environment all the time.
Yeah.
You know.
That's one thing that I always say. You got to live with love, right? You
Yeah.
give love out, love will come back.
Yeah.
You know, and that's important. So I appreciate you bringing that up. So, what do you do now for your health? You've gone through this whole process, the radiation, beat cancer.
Yeah.
Now you're on medication
Yeah.
for a lifetime. But now, when you talk about your health and wellness, what are the things that you're doing to make sure you maintain that health moving forward?
Well, I I got the opportunity that I basically cook my own food. I don't like eating out, fast food, all these chemicals that they put now in food. Even though it's hard because it's not the same thing as I go back to the Dominican Republic. The food over there is more healthy than here.
Right.
People live longer over there than here. About ten
That's the
years
truth.
longer.
Yeah.
So it just the environment. It's the environment, the food that you eat. Um, um, it's tough saying it, but it's no cookie cutter for everybody. You just gotta find your own solution, the own thing that works for you, and if it works, just stick with it. Make sure you exercise. Make sure that you pray to God. Make sure that you are you know in that balance at all time. You're gonna need it through all these struggles and negativities that everybody goes through, especially now in this era where everybody's so struggling. I meet so many people in the streets, and I just try to give them empowerment, thoughts and movement. Everything is gonna be okay. Just keep moving forward. Don't lose hope. The minute you lose hope, the minute is that you give up. And if you give up, there's nothing else that you can do.
Right.
You know.
Right. You got to keep on pushing.
Yeah.
So Joseph, what is the next big thing for Joseph?
The next big thing for Joseph is I have a few podcasts coming up, a few books that I'm writing right now.
Is it gonna be your own podcast or
It's gonna be my own podcast.
nice?
I'm gonna be talking about a lot of different ways of how living healthy and so forth, um, lifestyle changes, traveling. Looking at different perspectives on life. They just a daily routine and a daily basis. Life
That's
is more
awesome.
bigger than just work, kids, and everything else. You
Spread the
just
message.
yeah.
So and then what's the book about?
Well, the book that I'm writing right now is about my life story.
Okay.
It's taking some time because it's putting the whole entire content from when my dad died at the age of 5. That they sent me to Dominican Republic to stay there with my grandma, and to now and day that I went through all these cancer and living a positive life. So it's about my lifestyle. I have all the books out there that I'm reading. How to what food to eat, what type of vitamins are good for the body, and so forth. Little things like that helps out my patients, but also people around me. They want to live a healthier life. We're in the health business, so we know that none of our bodies produce vitamins or amino acids that has to be consumed somewhere somehow. You know, it's all spreading the message out there to to live a harmonious life where with between the hormone therapy and the way that you eat and the way that you live.
Absolutely. So obviously, I'm big into books. We got the different bookshelves behind you of different books that I've read. Some of them that are on there. What would be your number one book that you would recommend to the regular person?
Oh man, there's a book. I can't remember the name of the person that wrote it, um, but it talks about how the human brain is more powerful than the body. How the human brain works is so powerful that I was I was reading this article that even says that the human brain even stay active a few minutes after you even die.
Wow, that's scary.
You know, so it's still producing all that electricity knowledge. You know, the book also says that also was talking about that um, our brain is more as a computer. So scientists grab a blood out of our body and try to turn it into a little computer. and if they find out that our blood can hold, I believe, 1,000 databases of
Wow.
information in there. So our brain is so blocked from the knowledge that our history taught us that we don't know how to retrieve that information. Back in the days was we used to live 200 years, not 200 years, 200,000. Um, uh, but nowadays we barely live to 70,
Wow.
60. You know, um, the telomeres was longer in those brains, so they live longer, they healthier, they active all day because there wasn't no TV, there wasn't no entertainment,
Yeah, I
so there
definitely
was,
think
you
that's
know,
killing people for sure.
yeah.
You know?
So a lot of those, I was reading, and that really changed the dynamic of what you think of the body. It is the body is very complicated, but very simple to understand.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the truth. Joseph, in the industry, you've been in it for a while, a long time,
Yeah.
right? What do you see happening in the industry in the next 5 to 10 years?
This is still taboo. People heard about hormone therapy and amino acids and NIV therapies and so forth, but it's still taboo. People think that it doesn't work, but it's been a big development since the 60s and to now. People started to understand, man, our hormones are one of the keys of really living longer. It's amazing how people just starting to understand that knowledge when that knowledge been there for years and years and years,
Right.
and nobody really have you know dig down really into it.
That's true.
You know,
That's true. Is there anything else you want to touch up on?
keep spreading the word and helping other people, live a longer life. That's the main key. Money comes and goes. That's not important. But if I can help somebody live longer or help somebody, that's more gratifying than anything else to me, man.
I agree. Being able to live a happy, fruitful, long life with vitality, with vigor, to me, those are things that are extremely important,
Yeah,
right?
and
Quality of life is extremely important. It's not just about the longevity, but
correct,
also the quality. And
correct,
that comes to what we said before, the personalized approach
correct.
and making sure that we're bringing in precision to people's health and wellness. So I appreciate it, Joseph. We're here. I know we're going to talk a little bit more after the show about certain projects that we might be able to work together on. I'm big into collabing in the industry. Had Carlton with Forever Young just last week. So let's make it happen. Let's keep the relationships going. So appreciate it. So thank you for tuning in, everybody. Make sure you subscribe, tap, follow, click, leave all the messages, share it with your friends for the next one.